This is The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama. How are we doing today on this Thursday? Thanks, everybody, for watching us on the Joe Gaither Show. You're watching us on YouTube, on Facebook, or on Twitter at Joe Gaither6, or you're watching us on the Bama Central YouTube channel. You might be listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on Amazon. We appreciate everybody who has subscribed, rated, or reviewed this show. You can always find the show on all my social media machines, and you can jump into the show with your own comments, questions, queries, or complaints at Joe Gaither6. What we're going to do today is make sure we turn down the music all the way. Yep, perfect. Sometimes we leave that up for a second. What we're going to do today is talk about Alabama basketball. There's a couple of not really news, but conversation points happening to discuss. We can talk about Dan Hurley. We're going to talk about two recruits, one in the class of 2025 and one in the class of 2026, that are both seeming like they're on the ledge of committing to the Alabama Crimson Tide. And then we'll wrap up with our friend Jacob Bain from Cowbell Corner. We're going to predict the Mississippi State season. We'll go wins and losses game by game with Jacob Bain. So, again, you can always comment, question, query, or complaint. Leave that on the social media machines at Joe Gaither6. I want to talk basketball first. Why not? Big news when we wake up this morning is Dan Hurley is in conversations to join the Los Angeles Lakers as the new head coach. And so basically, the natural fallout is what's going to happen if he leaves UConn. Look, you guys can talk about him being a Lakers coach or not, and that's fine. But my big question is what happens if he leaves UConn? If he leaves UConn, a couple of different things are going to happen. First, the entire UConn roster gets 30 days to decide if they're going into the transfer portal or not. And while that doesn't really affect the Alabama Crimson Tide, because Alabama is full on scholarships, has 13 full scholarships already ready for the 2024 season, it might affect other rosters who are looking to fill out their rosters, and obviously UConn is recruiting talented players. Liam McNeely comes quickly to mind as one of the five-star players that joined the UConn Huskies as a true freshman this year. So a lot of talent that would go up in the air. But the biggest question is who would replace Dan Hurley? My first thought was, oh, my gosh, I hope it's not Nate Oates because of his relationship with the Hurley family. And I think that is off the table. And well, maybe that's just my bias, but I think that would be off the table because of everything that Alabama has done to support Nate Oates over the last 3 to 6 months. You look at what they did right before the SEC tournament, getting him a contract extension. You look at what they've done in the last month or two since going to the Final Four. They've come out and really committed to Alabama as far as a practice facility, a $58 million practice facility got announced kind of today. The planning, the financial planning got announced today by the UA Board of Trustees and the powers that be. So he's getting a big old $58 million facility. He's got himself some NIL money. He got himself a contract extension. And you look at this roster, and it is absolutely loaded. So do I think that Nate Oates would be a candidate to replace Dan Hurley? I think that it'll be a popular name, but I don't think it'll be a realistic choice to do that. What you have seen is a very interesting name got thrown out there by Jeff Goodman. He works with the Field of 68. And he said, if I were UConn and I lost Dan Hurley, I would opt for Bruce Pearl. And how crazy would that be? Now, Bruce Pearl also has a very loaded roster. You look at preseason polls and such, and Auburn is very, very high in those preseason polls. Great, cool. They brought in a nice little recruiting class and hit the transfer portal hard as well. And we all know Janai Broome is going to have probably a really strong season and make a case for him as the SEC Player of the Year. But, man, what a blow it would be to Auburn if Bruce Pearl decided to end up leaving Auburn to replace Dan Hurley at UConn. Now, this is all hypothetical because let's think about it. I just don't see Dan Hurley leaving to go coach LeBron James. Now, LeBron might opt out. He might opt out of his contract and go to another team, a team that drafts Bronny James, and then that kind of hurdle is off the table. But can you see Dan Hurley really meshing well with the veteran that is LeBron? I mean, and LeBron's great. He's absolutely great. But is LeBron a coachable superstar? I'm not quite sure that he falls into that category. So I don't think that Dan Hurley is going to go to the Lakers. Now, reports have come out today that he has talked with his team at UConn and said, okay, it's on the table, and sources close to the team and close to the program call it 50-50 on whether Dan Hurley is going to go to the Lakers or not. But I'm on the side where I think he's going to stay. I don't quite know that now look, the Lakers are the premier franchise. Like, you can talk about the Boston Celtics, and they're about to get ready to start the NBA Finals tonight. You can talk about several other NBA programs, NBA organizations, but the Lakers are the tip top. They are. I mean, you think about it, a handful of years ago, they almost got Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski, to leave Duke to go be the Lakers head coach. It's that level of prestige. Now, you can talk about, they're the Cowboys, they're the Lakers, it's Notre Dame, it's big brand, bad team. But let's not forget, what didn't the Lakers win the bubble championship? You can talk about it not being a real championship or not, but they did that. LA Lakers, am I just crazy? NBA titles. They won the bubble title, right? Yeah, 2020, exactly. So they're not that far removed from winning from winning an NBA championship. Obviously, they were a play-in team this past season, and so they've got a lot of room for improvement. I just don't know if Dan Hurley is going to be that guy to take on the challenge of leading the Los Angeles Lakers. So that came out today, and obviously put a lot of dominoes in motion, or hypothetical dominoes in motion around college basketball, where people saying, okay, if Dan leaves, who's going to be next? I mean, UConn is a blue blood program. So it would be quite a void. It would create quite a void in the college basketball landscape. Now, you've also seen people say, oh, look, Jim Harbaugh, national championship winning coach in football, and Dan Hurley, national championship winning coach in basketball. What's it say about college sports that both the national championship teams or coaches are going into professional ranks, running from the NCAA? I don't think it really says anything. You got to look at it by a case-by-case basis. Look at Jim Harbaugh. He leads Michigan to a national championship, and great for them. But he's been flirting with the NFL ever since he left the NFL. So it was just a matter of time before he got another shot at leading an NFL franchise. And then with Dan Hurley, I mean, the Lakers are the Lakers. I don't think that, okay, if you would leave college basketball for, and this is no disrespect, but the Orlando Magic, the Atlanta Hawks, the Charlotte Hornets, so one of these lesser franchises, the Washington Wizards, then you might have a conversation on your hands. But this is the Los Angeles Lakers, and as we just said, it is the premier franchise in professional basketball. So Dan Hurley is weighing his options. But right here in Tuscaloosa, you've got a little bit of news, small bits of news. You can consider this news or not. 5 different Alabama basketball players have announced their basketball numbers, their jersey numbers, and along with Grant Nelson. Grant Nelson's changed it to number 4. So that's what? That's 1, 2, 3. That's 6 different players have new jersey numbers. LeBaron Feiline is wearing number 0. Chris Youngblood is wearing number 8. Cliff Amore wearing number 11. We just hit Grant Nelson is changing his number to number 4. Nas Cunningham, number 24. And Houston Millett. All right, I said this yesterday on Twitter and a couple of different comments, but not too big a deal. Houston Millett is wearing number 95. Absolutely disgusting for an NBA, for a basketball number, whether you're in the NBA or not. You see Luka Doncic wearing number 77, which is, okay, that's a little better number aesthetically speaking. Now, look, you look at 95, you look into Houston Millett, and you look at his number, and you say, well, that's an ugly number. There's got to be a reason for that. Well, there's a reason for all these guys choosing their numbers. Everybody's got a reason for their number, whether they admit it or not. Everyone has a reason for the number. Now, so you look at Houston Millett. His 95 is apparently a representation of It's apparently a representation of a team mindset, of a playing defense, of an off-ball mindset, an off-ball hard-working mindset that he has adopted from different stops before he has come to even Alabama. So he's wanting to bring, I guess it's a play on the blue-collar mindset that he has that's been coached into him at other organizations. And so that's great. That's great. And from someone who supports Alabama basketball and likes Alabama basketball, that's awesome. That makes me warm fuzzies on the inside. But just watching the game and someone, taking a step back and covering the team or covering the game, it's an ugly number. It's a despicable number to wear on your uniform. And while it may not be a big deal, it's not a big deal. It's just a jersey number. I don't have to wear it. He does. You don't have to wear it. We'll be watching it. It was just an odd choice, in my opinion. And I understand it represents something, and everybody's got, this is what it represents to me for each of their jersey numbers, and that's great. But just from an aesthetic standpoint, 95 is a disgusting choice on the basketball court. Let's hit the last basketball topic before we move into a couple of these recruits. There's 2 recruits that are on the precipice of committing to the Crimson Tide. One, basketball first. I just said that. Aiden Holloway. Aiden Holloway gets a little practice footage leaked out on him yesterday. And look, if you can't, I know the Iron Bowl of football is going to be huge, and I know that John Cohen said on Monday that you might have 3 Iron Bowls in a season for football. Whatever. The Iron Bowl of basketball is on fire here in June. Absolutely on fire. And every time Aiden Holloway does anything, you've got the Auburn faithful. And it's such a weird mix. The Auburn faithful, he's going to find out what being sold a dream is. He's this. And basically you have this narrative from the Auburn faithful. We don't care about Aiden Holloway anymore. And that's fine. You shouldn't care about him. That's fine. But every single time he does anything, you sure seem like you care. You sure seem like you're upset that he left Auburn to come to Tuscaloosa. Look, far be it from me to tell other people how they feel. It's not really my place. That's not really becoming of anyone. You got to respect people and their feelings. So if the Auburn faithful says we don't care, all right, I'll take you at your word. You don't care. But it sure seems like you care about Aiden Holloway and how he performs, how he transitions here to Tuscaloosa. You get one big clip where Aiden Holloway is driving to the rim and he is missing a layup. Okay, he's missing a layup, and you get, that looks familiar. Familiar sight. Did he get sold a dream on how to make a layup? Well, great, whatever. You're being fans of the Auburn Tigers and whatever. It's weird to me. But then you get, an hour, 2 hours later, you get videos from Aiden Holloway driving to the rim, late in shot clocks. You can see the shot clock up above the rim, late in the shot clock, and teardropping right off the backboard. Getting to the rim, scoring off the dribble. And so it's not like he's not making anything. I just think the whole Aiden Holloway situation is going to be a lot of fun to watch and pay attention to over at least the next 1 year and maybe 2 or 3. He's going to sit here. He's not going to start unless something bad happens to Mark Sears. And if he does end up having to start, I feel like you're going to have a quality player. Aiden Holloway's not going to sit the bench, though, and play 7 minutes a game. He's going to get himself in the game, 16 to 23 minutes or so. I have no doubt that he's going to find a significant role on this year's Alabama basketball team, even if he's not starting. And so just pay attention. All the discourse about Aiden Holloway, it's just, it's reaching a fever pitch. It's reaching a level of, oh my gosh, can we act rationally at all? But no, you can't act rationally. Fan is short for fanatic, and I understand that. But wow, it seems like a lot of comments and discourse for a player that an opposing fan base doesn't care about anymore. We don't care about him. He wasn't any good here. Well, if he wasn't any good at Auburn, then why are you worried about what he's going to do at Alabama? Just odd to me to watch the online discourse around Aiden Holloway. I'm very excited to see how he does fit into the Alabama Crimson Tide. I don't know if you can hear this on the microphone. My dog's behind me, and she is dreaming and barking in her sleep. So very cute. My dog Abby, we love you. Thanks for the company. Let's move on to football before we talk to Jacob Bain. We're going to hit two recruits that are very close to committing to the Crimson Tide. One in the class of 2025 and one in the class of 2026. Let's start with the 25er because that's the guy you're going to see sooner. And we'll talk about Chuck McDonald. Chuck McDonald, cornerback out of Mater Dei High School in Santa Ana, California. 6 foot 190. He's a 4-star prospect from the 24/7 Sports Composite. He's ranked as the number 9 cornerback in the class and the number 7 player in the state of California. And look, okay, here's Greg Biggins, his little analysis. McDonald continues to trend up and just keeps getting better and better every time we see him. He's well built with a chiseled frame and among the faster corners out west. He had a strong year on the track this spring with a personal best 10.84 100-meter dash. But he suffered a leg injury following that race, and he wasn't 100% the rest of the season. He is a ball hawk who's looking to jump routes and make big plays defensively. He can read and react. He does a nice job getting out of his breaks and closes well on the football. Top-end speed to open and run with faster receivers down the field, and even plays some nickel corner to match up with smaller, shiftier wide receivers. He tackles well in space and is starting to play with more physicality. McDonald definitely has an NFL skill set with the traits that project to the highest level and talent to play for any college in America. In 2022, he was credited, as a freshman, credited with 28 tackles, 6 pass breakups, and a forced fumble for Mater Dei. Now, Mater Dei High School, you think, oh my gosh, Bryce Young. Yeah, the Mater Dei pipeline is huge. Now, who was it? The lineman, I think it was Tommy Brown, who ended up transferring out. But the Mater Dei pipeline has just been growing and growing. You've got, obviously, Bryce Young as the, big star there. But this past recruiting class, Xavier Brown, cornerback out of Mater Dei, and how unique or interesting would it be? I think it'd be a lot of fun to see Alabama starting 2 different corners in the defensive backfield, both from the same high school. So Chuck McDonald was on a recruiting visit this past weekend. He took an official visit this past weekend. And it sounds like it's gone so well that maybe he's canceling other recruiting visits, other official visits to other schools like, say, Oregon and Georgia. And it sounds like Chuck McDonald, his commitment could be coming down the pipe at any minute now, right as we watch all the social medias. And that'll be a lot of fun. That'll keep Alabama's class really going with some nice momentum after getting Keelan Russell earlier in the week. That'd be your 12th commitment to the class, and that'd be how many defensive backs now? You got yourself Samir Smith, and maybe Derek Smith, depending on if he plays offense or defense. But you're at least going to have 2 cornerbacks with Zamir Smith and now Chuck McDonald. And, of course, you're going to grow the class to probably 23, 27, somewhere in that range for Kalen DeBoer's first recruiting class. But just more signs, momentum building on the recruiting trail for Kalen DeBoer. And we will watch and see for Chuck McDonald's announcement of him committing to the Alabama Crimson Tide. The other guy's a class of 2026er. And, okay, you're not going to see him as quickly. But Cedarian Morgan is a wide receiver out of Benjamin Russell High School from Alexander City. And this guy, 6'4", 210 pounds. Obviously, he's a rising junior, so still got some room to grow. He's considered the number 4 wide receiver in the class by 24/7 Sports. He's considered the number 2 overall player in the state of Alabama for the class of 2026. And look, I know that there's some guys in the class of 2025 that maybe Alabama's slipping on just a little bit in state, but I think a lot of that has to do with the new staff getting into the 2025 cycle just a little bit later than some other staffs. But you're starting to get really into the class of 2026 in the state of Alabama. Cedarian Morgan is expected to commit pretty much any time. You've already got the cornerback Jamarian Gordon, safety / cornerback Jamarian Gordon, who committed a couple of weeks ago out of Jackson High School. So you're starting to make some dents into the class of 2026. And you love to see Kalen DeBoer basically continue to lock down the state, much to the tune that Nick Saban did. Look, his kind of outlook, his little profile, he plays basketball and he competes in track and field. He high jumped 6'2" as a sophomore, and his also got limited spring at the 100 meters, 110 hurdles, and 300 meter hurdles. Ran a freshman 100 meter time of 11.12 and 11.46 in the spring of 2023. So my man's got a really big time athletic frame, and so you're just going to see another wide receiver join the Alabama Crimson Tide class in Sedarian Morgan in 2026. He's a little bit different from a lot of the other wide receivers that are on campus right now with his size. Obviously, still has time to grow, but it might signal a little bit of a shift in Kalen DeBoer's, in the wide receiver room. You saw under Nick Saban a lot of the, 5'11", 5'10", 5'9" guys and really fast. And obviously it worked out very well for a certain period of time with the right outs. But it's a lot of fun to see a big guy come onto campus. You got Caleb Odom in the last class who transitioned from tight end to wide receiver. You got Jeremy Bernard who came in from the transfer portal, and now Sedarian Morgan becomes another bigger-bodied wide receiver, and he looks like he is going to commit to Alabama any day now. Now, obviously, as a class of 2026er, you've got the next 6 months and a year. So you got 18 more months or so before their early signing day. So a lot can change for Sedarian Morgan, but it seems like for now that Alabama is on the precipice of 2 different commits coming down the line very soon. Class of 2025 cornerback Chuck McDonald and class of 2026 wide receiver Sedarian Morgan. All right, so we're going to cut the Alabama portion right here. And we're going to go over to our friend Jacob Bain. Jacob Bain works for Cowbell Corner, and we're starting to get into some predictions for all the SEC teams. Jacob Bain helped us earlier today, and here was my conversation as he and I went game by game through the Mississippi State schedule. All right, that was going to do it for our Alabama conversation today. A little bit of recruiting news and getting excited for college basketball season. Lots of drama going on with the Iron Bowl of basketball. Let's turn it over. We'll find our friend Jacob Bain from Cowbell Corner, part of the Walsh Writing Network. We're going to talk Mississippi State football. We're going to talk about wins and losses. We'll predict the Mississippi State schedule, where that's going to put them in the SEC, and bowl predictions. We'll see if they make a bowl under first-year head coach Jeff Lebby. So without further ado, we'll find our friend Jacob Bain. We'll set up our shop just like that on the YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. You're finding us at Joe Gaither 6. You're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on Amazon. Jacob Bain is on Twitter at Jacob Bain 10, covering all things Mississippi State for Cowbell Corner. Jacob, how's your week going, man?
It's going good, man. How about yours?
Oh, we're having a great week so far. Getting into June, we're 86, 85 days away from kicking off the season in the SEC play. Obviously, most of my listeners are excited about Alabama, but an hour and change away from Alabama Starkville. Got some new blood, and hopefully the excitement is high over there in Mississippi State.
The excitement's high. New coach, and I think everybody's excited for a new coach until it goes bad. So,
absolutely. The last time we had you on, we talked spring practice. You highlighted some spring portal additions. Blake Sheppin probably being the biggest addition. We talked a little bit about Jeff Lebby and kind of the unknown factor with Coleman Hutzler. Let's get into predicting the season. How about that?
That sounds good to me.
All right, so Mississippi State gets their season started Saturday, August 31st at home in Davis-Wade Stadium, Eastern Kentucky Colonels. Come on, this should be an easy one, right?
Oh, yeah, this should be an easy one. I expect Lebby will probably try to score as many points as he can in that game, just kind of build some excitement. So I would say blowout win, 60, 50 points, something like that.
We love a good blowout win. That will get the excitement very high. The only problem I see is, okay, you get a huge blowout win, and then you got to wait 2 weeks before you're back at home. You're going out to Arizona State for week number 2. What's the feel? No Jaden Rashada out at Arizona State, and they lost a lot of pieces. But Mississippi State had a very, very difficult game with Arizona last year. Obviously, a different university, different program. What are we thinking about week number 2? Because I'm with you. Blowout win in week number 1.
It'll be difficult. Going out there will be 9:30 local time here when they play. But Arizona State, I did an opponent preview on them a couple of days ago. They were 3-9 last year. They returned a few guys. They got a few interesting guys out of the portal, but I don't expect them to be much better. But I don't think it'll be a blowout by no means. It'll be probably something like 35-24, something like that.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with you as well because of how poorly they did last year, and I think that Mississippi State, Jeff Lebby's going to want to try to build some momentum, and they got a chance to do so. Week number 3, Toledo comes to town. So you got the Rockets, another inferior opponent. What can you tell us about week number 3, and what are we thinking here?
I was just doing the early opponent preview for them today, and last year they were 11-3, but they lost their starting quarterback and their starting running back who rushed for 1,400 yards. But I mean, they're a good program under their coach, Jason Candle, I think is his name, since 2015, 2 11-win seasons, 6 bowl games, 2 MAC titles. So they won't be a pushover. I think State will win just because they're more talented, but it won't be an easy game. It won't be just a rollover game against Toledo. It's also a night game, so that'll be good.
So second home game for Jeff Lebby. You taking the Bulldogs to go 3-0?
Yes, I am.
All right, we're in lockstep so far, 3-0 for both of us. Because I'm with you. I think Eastern Kentucky is going to be pretty much a cakewalk, and Arizona State, that'll be a nice win, build some momentum. But next is the Florida Gators, week number 4. Florida Gators coming to Davis-Wade Stadium again. So you got a nice little home schedule to open up the season. Okay, look. Billy Napier, Florida head coach, not really some people love him, but I think that he is proven maybe he's a little in over his head in some areas. Do you think Florida I think it's going to be a great game, honestly. What do we think about Florida coming into town week number 4?
This might be the last win I have for State in a while.
No!
Looking at the schedule, but I don't have much faith in Billy Napier at Florida. I mean, their recruiting was going good for a while, but it fell off toward the end last year. They got Graham Mertz, who's good, but I don't know. They got a brutal schedule, and I don't think they'll be very good. I think that this will be State's first and maybe their only SEC win against Florida. I have them winning. It'll be a close game for sure, but I don't have much confidence in Florida and Billy Napier.
All right, I don't have much confidence in Florida either, but I think this is going to be a pretty ugly game. I think it might be like 26-24, 20-21. I think it's going to be a pretty ugly game. But due to the ugliness and the early season momentum, I'm going to go with you. I'll take Mississippi State as well. So we both, through the first 4 weeks of the season, have Mississippi State 4-0. Let's take a quick pause right there. At 4-0, how are the State fans feeling?
Oh, they're feeling great. I mean, I can remember the last time State started 4-0, maybe under Leach. But I would have to say excited because, I mean, beat Florida. Florida's not going to be very good, but, I mean, it's still a big national brand at home. You've traveled to Arizona State. It's a Power 5 team. They'll win. They're in the Big 12 now, which is really hard to get used to. So, but I think they'll be really excited. 2 Power 5 wins, an SEC win, but then I think reality will hit them the next week when they go to Texas.
Okay, exactly. Texas, when you're Steve Sarkisian, you're going out to the Lone Star State. When's the last time? I mean, I don't know. Let's look at.
I can't remember that before
Texas
I was born.
Versus Mississippi State.
Let's
see if there's a little history we can look up. Winsipedia is my favorite page for history. So let's see.
1998 bowl or 1999 bowl game against Ricky Williams, I think, was the last one.
Okay, Texas. I like Winsipedia. We've got Texas Longhorns. 4 games total that they've played against each other. And yeah, there you go. 1999, the Cotton Bowl. Texas wins 38-11. They played in Austin in 1992. Mississippi State won 28-10, and they played in Starkville. So it was a nice little home and home. Starkville in 91. Mississippi State won both of those games back to back, 91 and 92. And then you got to go all the way back to 1921. And Texas won 54-7. So you played 4 games against the Longhorns, but it's been a while. What do you think?
It's been a while. Jackie Sherrill was the coach when State played them times in the 90s, and he had success against them 2-1. But Texas has come a long way since. If you'd have told me State was playing Texas 3 or 4 years ago, I'd have felt better about it. But last year, Steve Sarkisian, Quinn Ewers, and all them, they kind of turned it around. And them or Georgia would probably win the SEC in my mind. So, but I think State. It'd be a good showing if State could put up maybe 28 points on them. I think Texas will score probably 40 plus. But yeah, I got Texas winning that one. But if State can put up some points, I think it'll make fans happy just to look competent in those games.
All right, I'll go with you. I think that Texas is the superior team and will win at home. But I am a little concerned, just a little bit, about Texas replacing A.D. Mitchell and Adonai Mitchell is what he wants to go by now, and replacing Xavier Worthy. I know from the Alabama perspective, they got Isaiah Bond and Amari Niblack as some skill position players. But, and they're fine players, they're good players. But I think Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell were otherworldly on the outside. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how Quinn Ewers uses his new skill position personnel.
Yeah, I've been on the Quinn Ewers hype train probably since he signed out of high school. He's just so highly rated, and he's with Steve Sarkisian, and I think Texas will be really good. They got a bunch of good defensive players out of the portal as well. Isaiah Bond from Alabama, like you said, receiver, but yeah, I'm not just too confident with them. They got some things to figure out, but I do think they're going to be really, really good and a lot better than State.
All right, so we're right here 5 weeks in, and we both have Mississippi State 4-1. I think that's a pretty daggum good start right there. Mississippi State gets a bye week. That's my birthday weekend. October 6th is my birthday. The 5th is that Saturday. So you get a bye week to prepare to go to Athens. How big is it for you, we're covering the team, to have the bye week going? Okay, you got the big game against Texas, and okay, you most likely lost it, but you get a bye week to regroup before you go into Athens.
Yeah, it's be good to have that bye week just from the perspective you'll be able to kind of let Jeff Lebel be able to scheme up some stuff against Georgia. But maybe they can, like I said, against Texas, if they can just score some points and be competitive in the third quarter with Georgia, I think fans would be happy with that. But, having a bye week always helps, but, I don't know how much is going to help going to play the number 1 team in the country.
All right, so I think Georgia is going to beat Mississippi State as well. So it's back-to-back losses I think both of us have written down on our sheet here. And now the season gets tough. At 4-2, I mean, come on, you played 2 of the top maybe 8 teams in the country in Georgia and Texas. So what do you really expect? But at 4-2, will there be a little disappointment set in? Will the excitement wane for the Bulldog faithful?
It might wane, but I don't know. Fans are often unrealistic, but the realistic fan would look at it and say Texas and Georgia are arguably 2 of the top 5, top 10 teams in the country, and you're playing them at Athens and at Austin. So I wouldn't say excitement would be down a little bit, but among the unrealistic fans, it'd probably be down a little bit.
All right, so you get a chance to get back on track. Saturday, October 19th, after the Georgia game, you're back at home. 2 really massive road games, hard road games. But then you're back at home. Texas A&M is, might be preseason top 25. They're right there at 25 right now in some polls. Texas A&M back at home. Can Mississippi State get back on track and get their second SEC win?
This was, when I was looking at the schedule earlier today, this was the one I kind of tossed up in the air because State's had success against A&M. They've won 4 of the past 5 matchups at home against A&M, but they got a new coach now, better than Jimbo. And they're talented. So I would say Texas A&M wins this game. It'll be a close game, but if I had to predict one of my losses for State to be a win, it would be this one because they've had some success against Texas A&M, especially at home.
All right, so you're taking Mississippi State or Texas A&M? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm taking Texas A&M.
Okay, well, here we go. Here's our first divide. I'm taking Mississippi State to win at home. I think that, you've got the first-year head coach in Mike Elko, and I do think he is going to be a better head coach overall than Jimbo Fisher. But going into Starkville, I think that they'll probably make this an evening game. I think it's going to be tough for them. I'm going to take Mississippi State to win that game.
Yeah, it'll be tough for A&M, and yeah, like I said, I could go either way on this one because State's had success against A&M, and A&M, they've always had talent, but they seem to always underperform, even though they have a lot of talent. So State could easily win this one, but just sitting here right now, looking at it, I would say Texas A&M wins, but it might change by the time the season gets here.
Absolutely. It is the first week of June, so there's a lot of time. We haven't even made it to SEC Media Days yet, so a lot of time for things to change or feelings to move a little bit. We'll keep it rolling on the Joe Gaither Show. We're talking to Jacob Bain of Cowbell Corner, and we're going game by game through the Mississippi State football schedule, predicting wins and losses. Next up is the Arkansas Razorbacks. Once again, a home game. You get a lot of you're front loaded with some home games now. Arkansas had their terrible season and should have fired Sam Pittman, but didn't. You bring the Razorbacks into Starkville. How you feeling?
I feel good about this one, and that's not necessarily because I think State's really good. I just think Arkansas is going to be really, really bad. I mean, really bad. I would say they're probably worst team in the SEC West. They lost KJ Jefferson. Sam Pittman's on the hot seat. By this point, he might already be fired. But you don't want to be the first game after a head coach gets fired. But you got them at home. State's had a lot of success against Arkansas. They beat them last year at Arkansas, and State was just dreadful on offense. And I would say that I have State winning this one. Score-wise, I would say something probably like 31-20, something like that. But, yeah, I got State winning this one.
I'm with you as well. I think Arkansas is just a putrid program right now, not going anywhere, no forward momentum. And, look, it's tough to be one of the top teams in the SEC. It is tough, but you got to you got to have forward momentum always. And I think Arkansas is a bit stuck in the mud. So I'm going with you. I think Mississippi State wins. Now look at this. I got, we disagreed on one, but on my sheet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 2, here we are 7 and 2 as we approach November, and you've got 6 and 3. So that's not even that bad either. Come on. Jeff Levy's having himself a great year so far.
Oh yeah. Fans will be excited at this, especially if what you predicted it comes true, because A&M, Arkansas, that's 2 SEC wins. Florida, that's 3 SEC wins, and you got I don't know. I wouldn't say you get winnable games down the stretch, but you got some tough games down the stretch. So if State's going to get some SEC wins, they better do it early, I would say.
All right, next one is another kind of cakey game and really only 2 cakewalk games on the schedule, Eastern Kentucky and now UMass. You get another home game. This is the 3rd in a row after your 2 brutal games against Texas and Georgia. UMass, pretty easy win?
Yeah, I would say easy win. I haven't dove into the numbers on them, but if I would just have to assume the State's going to blow them out. I would just have to assume that.
In 2023, UMass, they went pulling up our schedule. They went 3-9.
Oh, yeah. I feel really good.
They lost to Auburn on the second week of the year, 59-14. So not so hot.
Yeah, I feel really good about that one. Last time I played UMass, I think it was at Gillette Stadium in 2016 or something like that. But so they played UMass before, and they had a tough time over there at Gillette Stadium. But I think State blows them out and gets ready for the last 3 games of the year.
So you're feeling pretty good now. We're at 8-3. We're at 8-2 or 7-3. Those are both great numbers, but in a huge game. Because right now, if you're at 7-2 or 7-3, or 8-2. You're in the, picture, SEC championship picture a little bit. Obviously, you're probably on the outside looking in with your 2 losses to Texas and to Georgia, or 3 losses with A&M on your sheet. But you're in that top half. So you go up to Tennessee for a huge game. And really, is this going to be a little student and teacher, a little master and apprentice with Jeff Levy taking on Josh Heupel?
Yeah, that'll be an interesting storyline. He worked under Heupel couple years at UCF, but I think Tennessee is just they've got too much on offense, and that's really my worry with State is their defense. And Heupel runs a really good offense. They got Nico. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his last name. They got him at quarterback, and they're going to have playmakers at receiver. So I think State will lose this one, but I mean, I think State could put up some points against them, but I don't think the defense would do much stopping. Something like a 45-28, something like that, I think.
Ooh, I'm looking at their R Lads page, and that's my page that I like to use for depth charts. They're bringing back Brew McCoy. They're bringing back Squirrel White, and they're bringing back Dylan Sampson, the running back, all to fit around Nico Iamaleava. I think that's going to be a challenging offense for everyone to deal with. And not to mention, who's this kid that they've got? Is it James Pierce? Is that the kid? It's James Pierce who is getting a lot of talk to
draft buzz. Yeah.
Yes, defensive end, and it's going to be a really good defensive draft class this coming year, and he's looking like he's going to be among the top draft picks. I'm going to go with you. Unfortunately, I'm setting aside my Tennessee hatred. I'm going to go with you and say Tennessee does win. All right, so not so bad, not so good. I mean, well, really not so bad, but pretty good so far. You got 2 games left in the year, and both of them look like big old games. You get an off week, November 16th, so there's your second bye week. And let's just right here talk about that. First year in the SEC with 2 bye weeks. One, what do you think? How do you feel about the implementation of a second bye week? And then secondly, specifically to Mississippi State, they really did. I mean, they spread them out nicely. You're right before the Georgia game, in between Texas and Georgia, and then you get a bye week right before the Missouri and Ole Miss finale. I think that the schedule makers did the Bulldogs some favors.
Yeah, it'll be 2 bye weeks will be a little different. I personally, I don't know. I'll be covering the team this year. What'd you say?
It's okay if you don't like it.
Oh yeah. I don't necessarily like it in terms of I don't like having 2 weeks where State's not playing. It feels weird, but I'll enjoy watching other games. But I think they did spread them out well because I think Missouri is probably the most likely of your top teams you're going to face. I think they're the most likely State could beat. And coming off a bye week will only help, and you got them at home. But I would say Missouri would probably win this game, but I mean, I am a little skeptical of Missouri. They do have Luther Burden, and their quarterback is returning, but it's just hard for me to believe that Missouri will put together 2 really good seasons in a row. But we'll have to see. But I would say Missouri wins. But if State's got a chance to upset one of the teams that they're predicted to lose against, I would say it's Missouri.
I like you taking the chance there, but I am going to disagree. I'm going to take the Tigers to go in there and get a win. I think that for Missouri, their biggest issue is will they still play good defense? I think their offense is going to be fine. Brady Cook coming back, and you got, like you said, Luther Burton and Theo Weiss. I think their offense is going to be pretty good next year. So it's if their defense can kind of maintain that same level of intensity. They lost they lost several different corners to the NBA, to the NFL draft. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how their secondary comes along. I'll take a loss here. Are you taking a win?
I'll take a loss. I think Missouri will win. I think it'll be close, but if State can upset one of the ranked teams they face, I think they would be the one they could beat.
All right, we like it. Now it is a home game. It's a home game. You bang it. They're banging those cowbells. They might get Eli Drinkwitz thrown off his game with those cowbells.
Maybe so, but I think Missouri wins. But if State could upset a team, that I would predict Missouri. And then the next week, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, the next week is the first time in a while. I don't know if it's ever been on Black Friday before, but in my memory, it's been always on Thanksgiving night, the Egg Bowl. Mississippi State goes to Vaught-Hemingway Stadium, takes on Lane Kiffin, and Ole Miss, their schedule looks like pretty soft compared to the rest of the SEC schedules. They might be riding high at this point. How do you feel about the big old rivalry game? It'll be Jeff Levy's first time in the Egg Bowl.
It'll be something. Ole Miss will probably likely be playing for a playoff berth, so they were going to have a lot on the line, but Levy's going to have something to prove. Him and Lane, I don't think him and Lane are just too close. I don't think they like each other too much. But I think Ole Miss will win, but I don't think it'll ever be a blowout. I'll never predict the Egg Bowl to be a blowout one way or the other because Ole Miss was really good last year and State was really bad last year, and State was winning that game in the second half, and it was 7-3, but I mean they were winning that game in the second half. But I think Ole Miss will win the game, but I do think it'll be close and it'll be weird in some kind of way. I'm not sure what, but it'll be weird some way.
All right, so I've got it as a loss for Mississippi State as well, and that's going to close our season. I think that Ole Miss is going to have a really strong year and be in contention for the SEC championship. So I've got 7-5. Tally up your sheet real quick. Are you at 6-6? Is that what we're counting?
Yeah, I'm at 6-6.
All right, 6-6 and 7-5. Which honestly is a pretty nice improvement from last season under Mississippi under the previous coach. Oh my gosh, I keep forgetting his name.
Zach Arnett.
Zach Arnett. Thank you very much. No reason to remember that bum's name, anyways. 5-7 last year, 1-7 in the SEC. Now, obviously, he was fired before the Egg Bowl, so 5-6, but. Well, look, that's a 1-game improvement on your sheet. That's a 2-game improvement on my sheet. You've won a couple SEC games on each of our sheets here. How do you think the Mississippi State fans would receive that season for first-year coach Jeff Lebby?
I think they'll receive it well. It reminds me a lot of the 2009 season, Dan Mullen's first year at State, coming off Sylvester Croom. They went 5-7 that year, so we both predicted it'd be better than that. But there was signs of improvement. You could see the team was better. They were well coached and stuff like that. And I think that'll be the case this year. I think the offense will put up some points. There won't be very many mistakes, and fans will be able to tell that the team has improved, even though the wins and losses won't necessarily reflect how much they've improved because they got to play. I mean, they have. I think I saw they have the second hardest schedule in the country. I mean, they got to play Texas and Georgia on the road. Play Missouri. I got them at home. They play Tennessee on the road and Ole Miss on the road. That SEC road schedule is one of the toughest I've ever seen at State. So, but I think fans will be excited for a 6-6, especially a 7-5 year under Lebby's first year.
All right, so that's 6-6 or 7-5. You're right back into the bowl picture. You didn't make a bowl last year under Zach Arnett at 5-6, but you're right back into bowl contention. What are we feeling like our bowl prospects? I'm looking at right now college football bowl tie-ins, the SEC. I'm seeing ReliaQuest Bowl. You're seeing the Taxslayer Gator Bowl. You're seeing the Gasparilla Bowl. You're seeing Birmingham Bowl. You want to come over to Birmingham? First Responders Bowl as well. Well, what are we thinking here for Mississippi State's bowl prospects?
I would say Birmingham might be likely. Is the Liberty Bowl still a thing? I know it was last year. They always seem to send State to the Liberty Bowl. So that will be my guess right now. 6-6, and especially a 7-5 State team, they'll be in Memphis in the Liberty Bowl.
That wouldn't be so bad. Memphis is a good little city, right?
Yeah, I mean, but it's just last time State played there, they played there twice in 2021. Got beat by Memphis, and they got blew out by Texas Tech in the bowl game. So I think State fans are kind of don't want to go there, but I think that'll be probably they'll probably be where they end up. I don't know who the other conference.
It's the Big 12 right now, according to this college football news site. AutoZone Liberty Bowl is the 5th Big 12 slot against an SEC team.
Well, I think they can win that. I don't know who the 5th team in the Big 12 will be.
With the new Big 12, it's so hard to keep up, right?
Might be somebody like UCF or somebody like that, which will be an interesting match. They played them in Liberty Bowl in 2007, so it might be something like that.
The new Big 12 is, if I have this correctly, West Virginia, Texas Tech, TCU, Oklahoma State, Kansas, Iowa.
Both the Arizona schools, I think. Arizona State and Arizona.
future members, future affiliate. Goodness gracious! So it's gonna be nuts to see how all the conference realigns itself. Big 12 2024. That's what we need to see, because I'm still getting Oklahoma and Texas on these sheets here, which is not accurate. Colorado is here we go. Yeah, Arizona State, Baylor, BYU, UCF, Cincinnati, Colorado, Houston, Iowa State, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, TCU, Texas Tech, Utah, and West Virginia. So your fifth team, it might be one of those Arizona schools, might be Oklahoma State, might
Colorado would be interesting. If it was Colorado versus State and Liberty Bowl, it would get a lot of eyeballs at least.
How you think about Deion? I think Colorado's going to have another very bad year.
Oh, yeah, I think there's going to be another bad year. I think at Jackson State, he did a good job there, but I think he could just stack really good talent against kind of bad schools. But I think Colorado, it's a different animal when you're trying to, especially when he's trying to recruit the guys that he wants to. He's going against teams like Alabama, Ohio State. I mean, you're just not going to out-recruit those guys at Colorado. So I think they might be – what did they finish last year? 4-8. I think they might be 5-7. I don't see them going to a bowl game, but it would be interesting if State played them in a bowl game.
That'd be a great bowl game for the State fans to get up there and get to Memphis and cheer against Deion Sanders. All right, Jacob, we're going to wrap it up right here. Let's just both count Mississippi State as a bowl win, because we don't know who they're going to be playing, and I like things on the bright side. So I'm going to finish with 8-5, and you're going to finish with 7-6 on your sheet. Pretty good first year with Jeff Lebby. Wrap it up. What that would mean for Jeff Lebby on the recruiting trail as Mississippi State looks to build their own forward momentum.
It'll be really good on the recruiting trail. He did good in the transfer portal this year in terms of offense. But I think if he wins 7-8 games this year, you'll have even more to recruit to. This year, he's just kind of recruiting on, look what I did at Oklahoma, look what I did at Ole Miss. But now he has a proven track record of being a head coach. And if the defense can be better than what I expect, that'll help them a lot if they win 7 or 8 games for the defense. Because right now with Coleman Hutzler, I mean, it's hard to get traction with recruits because, I mean, they don't know nothing about the guys. So, but I think a big year will help them a lot in terms of transfer portal recruiting, and high school recruiting will probably be about the same, I would say.
That's Jacob Bain, and you're following him at Jacob Bain 10 on the Twitter machine. You're reading all his great work at Cowbell Corner. Jacob, what are you going to be working on over the next week on Cowbell Corner?
Well, I'm doing I did an opponent preview today for Toledo. That's how I knew all them quick facts off the top of my head about them, and thinking about doing a little column about the men's basketball team. They did really well in the transfer portal, and Chris Jans, he had a press conference yesterday, so I'm probably going to do that and maybe wrap up baseball season and doing something with baseball season, kind of wrap that up. But it's on the agenda now. There ain't much to do no more. Baseball's done, football's done, basketball's done, and media days are a good bit away. So just passing the time, I guess, until July.
All right, we'll catch up with you again next week, talking more Mississippi State athletics with Jacob Bain from Cowbell Corner. Thanks for your time, Jacob.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. That's Jacob Bain joining us, and that's where we're going to wrap up our show today. We appreciate everybody for watching us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, all at Joe Gaither 6, or on the Bama Central YouTube channel. You can always find the show as always on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on Amazon as well, anywhere where you can get your podcasts. We appreciate everybody for subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show. We'll get out of here for the day, and we'll be back for a Friday edition of the Joe Gaither Show tomorrow right here on Bama Central and BamaCentral.com.
Thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Keep up with Joe on all his social media pages at Joe Gaither 6. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and be sure to read us daily at BamaCentral.com.